ArmChair GM Podcast with Dylan and Chris, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. Today we're talking defense. Let's get into it.
Well, Chris, how are you feeling about our defensive core this year?
Well, I mean, many people that get paid an extreme amount of money to talk about hockey and teams and analyze and all that fun stuff have us, within the top three in the league. So obviously, I'm kind of excited about what we have. We made a really nice addition to the team this year via trade when we got rid of Kachuk, and yeah, it's looking great. I mean, we've always kind of had a decent looking defense over the last couple of years, anyways. So it's looking like it's even better this year.
I couldn't agree more, man. I'm fucking pumped, honestly. I feel like we could even, we could even get over, a significant injury, because that's bound to happen, every once in a while on our blue line. Like, looking at who we've got, there's somebody on the second pair who could jump onto the first pair. There's somebody on the third pair who could jump onto the second pair. Like it's
yeah.
I think we're fairly deep. Plus, we've got lots of guys in the minors. Even though they're on one-way deals, you could still bring them up if you need to. So let's get into it.
That's right. So talking about our minor guys, I mean, if we bring them up, I would assume that the natural progression would be to throw him in with Tanev, because he seems to be the rookie whisperer when it comes to defense.
Not even just rookie, like Hanifin had 200, 300 games, 250 games when he started playing with Tanev, and Tanev made Hanifin into a much better player, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah.
So let's talk about Chris Tanev.
Chris Tanev, the reason why we lost to the Oilers. I'm kidding.
What? Because he was hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it really sucked, right? We saw the effects of that immediately.
It was glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, part of the reason why Uyghur was even part of the deal. Because I'm pretty sure Tree Living saw what happened there, and he was like, "Yeah, we probably need another top four defenseman."
Yeah, absolutely. What was it? Stone that came in and played with Shillington in Tanev's absence?
Yeah, it was. And I don't get me wrong, I love me some Mike Stone, but just not the same as far as covering for for defensive
shortcomings.
Yes, we'll go with that.
But Chris Tanev, he's made a career out of being just a phenomenal defenseman that can cover his partner. He seems to just have a great vision on the ice, so he knows when he needs to hang back and get back, and he's not really known for his points, but his defense is stellar.
But he doesn't need points, and that's one of the things about defensemen. Some of them need to get points. Like if Shillington's not getting points, he's fucking useless.
Yeah.
Whereas if Tanev's not getting points, you're just like, oh, whatever. He's still doing exactly what we signed him for, $4.5 million for 4 years, a couple years back to do, right?
That's right.
And honestly, like he doesn't even do it just through physical, hitting people and taking them out of the play. He is so good at angling people off, and he's so good at intercepting passes, and he's so good at covering specifically Markstrom when Markstrom's maybe out of position. You see Tanev kind of on the other side of the net a lot.
Yeah.
And that's like massively important to me.
It really is. Obviously, he played with Markstrom in Vancouver as well, so they know each other very well.
Yeah.
They're a very good, pairing. We'll say between goaltender and defender.
Yeah.
With that, I mean, like if you even just look at his plus minus as a defenseman on a garbage Vancouver team, he had one negative season, and that was 15-16, where it was -8. Other than that,
Yeah.
he's plus 43 over his career.
That's pretty impressive,
Yeah,
especially considering the teams he's played on, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
plus 40 over the last. Sorry, plus 50 over the last two seasons with Calgary.
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
And like there's a reason Markstrom's got, you know, Tanev's ugly mug on his mask, right?
absolutely.
That in case anybody's wondering, anybody who's ever seen Markstrom's mask and wondering why there's a skeleton with a skull with no teeth on the mask, that's supposed to be Tanev, and it's fucking hilarious
He's
to
got
me.
teeth. There's just few and far between.
Yeah, well, they're all on this, on the outskirts of his mouth. None of them are, right in the center.
So now where the puck fits in. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. When I met him last year at a restaurant here in Calgary.
Tanev?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He was pretty funny. I basically just went outside to get some air after having my meal, and he's standing there, and I look up at him, and and I go, "So, gonna kick some ass this year?" He's, "Your fucking rights, I am. I'm an out kid." Right?
Nice.
Yeah, he's he's shy, but he's not afraid to at least mix it up with fans outside, which was fun.
Yeah. Shall we move on? Let's talk about Nikita Zadorov.
So, like, should we just start like with "Here Comes the Boom"? Do we have an intro song for him?
uh
235 pounds, 6'6", Nikita Zadorov.
and that's exactly how he plays. He's
Yeah.
trying to lay the hits. He's trying to get people off their game by intimidating them. And honestly, he got a lot better positionally last year.
Yeah.
When we signed him, I was fucking terrified because I've watched him throughout the years in Colorado and Chicago, and he's kind of always been the type of guy who's and he even showed it last year in preseason where he goes out of his way to make the hit,
Yeah.
but then he's out of position like massively, and he really fixed that. I feel like under Daryl Sutter, which is part of the reason why he resigned. He said in an interview right after he resigned, right I think it was right on July 13th, actually, right when free agency started. He was re-signed a few hours later, and he basically said like Sutter made him a better player and more positionally sound, and he
Yeah.
felt like he played the best hockey of his career. So, and I agree, he played much better than I expected him to. I will
Well,
fully admit I was wrong
yeah.
about him.
I mean, he had a career year in points, right? Plus 11.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah.
Yeah, like he played very well. Obviously, the pairing between him and Gudbranson was amazing.
Yeah.
That was actually one of my favorite things about watching our defense last year, is watching that pairing. Branson's a stud, and I really wish we could have figured out a way to sign him, but that 4x4 in
A little bit
Columbus,
too much.
it is a bit too much, right?
Yeah.
So, good on him. I wish him well.
Me too. A really good guy. There was actually a really good interview with him a couple days ago on 960.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. They called him up and asked him all about his new contract and all that type of stuff. So
Nice.
I suggest going to look at that.
Yeah, I will for sure. Yeah, because I was a big fan of his last year. But yeah, the pairing between him and Nikita was really good. On occasion they had blunders, but for the most part they're very steady.
Yeah, it was very few and far between, considering like I had a full on diagram of how I expected 3/4 of our goals against to go in last year, like right after preseason ended, and it included Gudbranson and fucking Zadorov being fucking way over on the boards and there being nobody in front of our net.
Yeah.
And
Why are
that
you at the hash marks? Why are you at the hash marks?
exactly, and that didn't happen. So I'm like, again, all the credit to both of those guys. Really happy Zadorov came back. I'm quite honestly shocked that he didn't take a raise and that he chose 2 years without a raise.
I am too.
So
That
I'm
to me
fucking
that
pumped.
just goes to show how much he appreciated his time with Daryl.
Not only with Daryl, but if you again a lot about the interviews right now, but there was an interview with him right after he signed where he also mentioned like he has played in fucking Chicago and in Colorado, which are two, they're not bad hockey cities at all. They're
No.
pretty good hockey cities, but
Yeah.
he really enjoyed playing in Calgary because of the fans.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
I mean, the fans around here, it's pretty much a flip a coin, right? Either they love them or they hate them,
yeah,
and there's really no in between.
yeah.
I believe that most people started the season with the hate, and I'm sure a chunk of the fan base came around after putting up a pretty quality season. So I'm pretty sure people are actually kind of pumped to watch him this year. Now that being said, I mean, is it going to be a different looking Zadorov with Shillington? Do you think? I mean, I just
If it's Shillington, it could be Shillington, could be Valimaki. Fuck, he could even play with Tanev. Like, we don't know how things are gonna roll out this year, right? There's
well,
so many different options.
well, and that's just it. When you look at the defense, right? We've got
Like
you know
that,
Anderson and
Hannafin.
Hannafin. You would think would be a natural pairing because they played together for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
And then I mean, obviously, you're not putting Uyghur on the third, and I don't see a reason or why you would put Tanev on the third pair.
no,
But
me neither.
you never know, right? I mean, Sutter does some interesting things sometimes, right?
And there's also, you could also put, Tanev and Uyghur, let's say, on the 2A pair where they're getting the same amount of minutes as
Mm.
maybe a Shillington and Zadorov pair, right?
Yeah.
Where you know maybe one of them you always start in the defensive zone, the other one you always start in the offensive zone, and then Hannafin and Anderson you kind of start wherever there's there's room otherwise, right?
Sure. Yeah.
There's so many, and that's how the pairs roll out. You could always put Hannafin and Tanev back together. They were really good together. You could put Tanev with Shillington. That would probably work pretty good. Uyghur and Rasmus, I feel like would be a great pair.
You know what? I think you're right there. I think that would be a pretty decent pairing, and I mean, I would think that they'll get time together on the power play as well.
You think they're going to get two defensemen on the power play?
I I think on the second line, anyways.
Fair enough.
I
And then
you
who's
know,
going to be the first power play?
mm, I still think I would think Hannafin, right? Because he does have decent offensive production.
I'm not a huge fan of him on the power play.
You're not a huge fan of him, anyways.
Yeah, not so much. Now let's talk about Hannafin. And it's not that I'm not a fan of him. I don't dislike him. I just think that he's overrated a little bit to the point where he's going to get paid a lot, and we shouldn't pay him that much in 2 years.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, what do you think his contract would look like? Right, because right now he's getting paid 4.5,
Well,
sorry,
with the
4.95.
which is a really good, like, I would think 6.5 would be pretty good for him.
I mean,
But
I think 6.5 would be really good for the team.
yeah,
I
but
think it'd be closer to 7.5 for him because he's getting, sort of up there in age now. He's been around a while. I would think that
he's not old at all. He's only 25, bro.
I know, but he's also played 517 games.
Yeah, so he's got lots of experience, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I think he's overrated, because he is young, but he's played so much that I feel like his development is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
fair.
I feel like any contract beyond 2024 when his contract ends, I feel like that'll probably be closer to 8, especially with the cap going up. I
Yeah.
feel like it'll probably be closer to 8, 8.5. And I just don't I'd rather give that to Rasmus. I'd rather give it to somebody else. I mean, Rasmus is signed beyond there anyways, but
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you got 3 more years worth of Rasmus. So,
yeah,
I mean, that money's not going to him anyway. So I wouldn't worry about that.
yeah,
It'll be
uh,
a very different looking team in 26, 27.
yeah.
And then,
Um,
and you also have to think like he plays a style of hockey where it's not very taxing on his body. I think he's actually going to have quite a long career.
Hannafin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, for sure. And that
I think that, potentially if Brad can, if he's obviously around in 2 years, but if Brad can kind of talk to him about that being, you're going to probably get an extra, at least 2 more contracts compared to some others, that play a more rough style of defense. Cause I can't see Hannafin not playing when he's 37, 38. Right.
yeah, if he's still playing the same brand of hockey, which is
Yeah.
also, part of what I'm not a huge fan of about Hannafin is that he's not a small dude, but he doesn't play like he's not a small dude. He kind of has the Dougie Hamilton syndrome, but without being that good offensively.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's a big
Yeah.
dude. He's six
So
three, 6'4", something
So,
like that.
so he's Dougie Hamilton without the offensive production and not with the defensive gaffes that Hannafin or sorry
Less defensive
Hamilton.
gaffes, but still defensive
Yeah,
gaffes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he doesn't use his body, right? He doesn't use his size, his
yeah.
right. He
There's been a lot of Calgary Flames over the last few years that have been talked about in the same vein, right? Like we just got rid of Monahan, who that's one of the big ones, right?
same size as
Yeah,
Hannafin, but
bigger,
same problem.
exactly. Just not.
You would never know that they're 6'3". You'd think they were
Yeah,
5'10".
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah. I mean, I get your point too because my feeling on defense. My number 1 and 2 all time
Yeah.
favorites. Are Reggie and Al. So I mean, obviously,
McInnes, yeah. And
just a different big.
McInnes wasn't that big either.
No,
He just used his body and used his strength a lot more than Hannafin ever. And again, I don't hate Hannafin. I think a lot of people who read what I say on social media think that I fucking just have a hate on for him.
well,
It's not really.
it's
What's
because
that?
you actually say it. You write it out. I hate Hannafin, and so people
Oh, go
go.
fuck yourself, Chris.
Dylan hates Hannafin.
No, it's again, it's just that I think that his value on a trade market is a lot higher than his value on the ice. And I don't think that his value on the ice is low. I just think that his trade value is much higher than his play.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is why I think he's the perfect trade piece, obviously. If you're going out to get a top line winger like we need. But shall we move on and talk about? Let's talk about the new guy,
The new guy, who's that?
Mackenzie Weegar,
Oh, that guy.
the guy who's got $3.25 million left on 1 year, and honestly, that's really good. I feel like
Yeah,
his next contract here is probably going to be more like 6.5, 7, maybe 7.2 or something like that.
yeah.
And
I was
apparently
thinking
that's
that.
on the way from all accounts.
Yeah, there was a lot of people talking about that today, actually, of how
Yeah.
the impending extension is close and whatnot.
And
The
that's not an official thing. That's just what we've been hearing from, unofficial.
you you can put it in the bank, right? Armchair GM Podcast is saying that other sources are saying.
Yes, exactly.
That it's damn near done.
Yeah. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, he seems pretty pumped to be in Canada. He seems pretty pumped to at least still be on the same team with Huberdeau. And honestly, one thing I'm really excited about is that he's a guy who stepped into the shoes of Aaron Ekblad once Aaron Ekblad went down last year.
Yeah.
And while he wasn't Aaron Ekblad, he was a very good replacement for the time. And he helped continue the Panthers' upward swing towards becoming the President's Trophy winners.
Yeah.
And actually played a very, very large portion of the season as their number one defenseman. And I feel like that's going to work out really good in our favor if he is a really good, number 2 or 3 defenseman who can step in when needed and play the hardest minutes. Then fuck yeah.
Well, exactly. I mean, he played 23, 22 last year was his average time on ice. So I mean, that's a lot of minutes. So we know we have somebody that can, that can play on both, regular shift, power play, penalty kill, which we're going to need somebody that can fill in and take Branson's spot on penalty kill, because I mean, he pretty much made a career doing that. That was really fun to watch.
Yeah. And he's not afraid to drop the mitts. He's not overly great at it, but he's not afraid to do it, which is the main thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's only 200 pounds at 6 foot, so he's not a big guy, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he brings to the table.
Absolutely. Are you excited for him?
I actually am. And I kind of feel like he was one of the main reasons for the trade, to be honest. I think obviously Huberdeau is a huge addition. But I feel like Brad might even be surprised that he was able to get him signed that quick. To an extension. I honestly think Brad didn't think he would be able to do it. And so I think Weegar was the one they were truly going after.
I feel like he was probably going after both of them. Well, honestly, from what I've heard, it wasn't even him going after them. Apparently,
they were just given.
Bill Zito just called up Brad and was like, "So how about these 2 guys?" And Brad was like,
sure.
Quickly hangs up the phone with 31 other GMs. Like,
what else you got? Well, I've got a young kid, and
the first round pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm fucking pumped for him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I could see him being the main reason why we had originally gone, not the main reason, but the main guy that Brad thought he could re-sign.
Yeah.
And probably going after Huberdeau as well, just in order to have somebody to fill that spot for the year, and then have Weegar as a guy who you extend. But it kind of turns out to be the other way for now, which I'm not upset about. And I feel like Weegar's contract is on the horizon.
I think so. Yeah, I think they're working on it right now as we speak. I'm not worried about it. I honestly think that Brad will get him in for at least 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah. And let's take a second to talk about some online betting.
Football fans, the first Sunday of the NFL season is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving new customers a can't-miss offer to celebrate the return of the NFL season. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. As an added bonus for 1 week, everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. It's simple. Bet on any NFL team to win. If your team leads by 10 at any point during the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet for this Sunday. That's code THPN. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Rasmus Anderson.
Rasmus Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
For my money, the most improved player from his season 2 years ago to last season, which by the way I called several times
on another podcast that we were affiliated with you, so we got you on air calling it. Well done.
Yeah. But honestly, Rasmus is my favorite all-around defenseman on the team. I'm a huge fan. The $4.5 million for 4 more years is an absolute fucking steal, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. Decent. I mean, when did you sign that? Was that last year or 2 years? Let's find out.
I think last year was his first year on the contract, but he extended the year before. I could be wrong on that though. I can look at it.
No, so he's had 2 years at this now, the 2021, 21,
okay.
22. So yeah, that's I mean, at the time, yeah, that's a good contract. I love that contract. When you can pay your, one of your top pairing guys 4.5, that's a job well done on an extension by Brad.
Especially, what was it, 6 years at that time?
Yeah.
He'll be 29 when this expires, so he'll still have time for that big contract, right? He'll probably get like a 7 year, depending on who it is, 7 or 8 year contract for, $7 or $8 million, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
So I wish he'd use his slap shot more. That's my biggest criticism of Rasmus, because he was used as the power play guy last year for the majority of the year.
Yeah,
and what's that?
He was way too worried about setting Johnny up.
He was way too worried about passing and there came a point there when Stone was in, when we were both always being like, man, just put Stone on there because at least the puck will get towards the net.
Yeah.
Whereas Rasmus has a bomb that is very Stone-like. He just doesn't use it enough. He's a much more offensively creative player. He's a much faster player. He's a really good all-around defenseman. I just wish he'd shoot more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And again, that contract is just, probably tied with Lindholm for the best contract on the team.
Absolutely. Having your number one guy tied up, for another 4 years at that price is great. He defends teammates. So he's a great teammate.
He's a chippy little fuck too, eh?
He really is. Sometimes a bit, a bit much. I just kind of like, hey, you're gonna get yourself into shit here. But he doesn't mind mixing it up. He does have a bit of snarl to him, which is nice. It's funny, the Swedes that we have on the team and that we've kept, they all have a bit of snarl, right? They can get pissy if need be. Rasmus seems to be the most in that category. Might be something to do with being younger, who knows? But no, he's a great asset to the Flames, and yeah, I'm pretty excited. He's coming off a career year at 50 points, and a plus 30. Obviously, everybody was a plus whatever last year, right? Because the regular season the Flames had was great. So yeah, I expect big things. We'll see what Daryl decides on who's playing with him. I suspect it's going to be Noah, but
I do too. Do you expect an uptick in production, or did
I I would be surprised if he doesn't get more goals. That's for sure.
yeah, okay.
I mean, his career
That I
high
can
in
agree with.
goals is 5.
Yeah.
And
He's got more goals in him for sure. But points, I feel like with Uyghur coming in, I feel like there's going to be more of a spread on the points offensively.
right. Yeah, I can see
as
that.
far as the defensemen are concerned.
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
see that.
So I
I
don't
mean,
think he's going to reach the same amount of points, but I feel like he's going to be probably pretty close, and he's still going to be that first or second guy.
I mean, if you really look at, obviously he had 46 assists last year, so I mean, I could see his assists still being 35 plus.
Yep.
And if he can add, I mean, minimal 5 goals, but I would say closer to maybe 7 or 8 at least.
And I think he's going to get more than 10.
I think he will get more than 10 next year. I think that's going to be something that Daryl stresses with him, is to start shooting. As you know, like you're saying that he doesn't utilize that shot of his.
Yeah,
and I think
it's a fucking bomb.
Yeah, I know, and it's really bizarre to see that his career high is 5 goals, right?
Yeah,
and it's weird, because he does have an incredible shot, and he's not afraid to use it on occasion.
on occasion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully not playing with Gaudreau on the power play is going to help him with the shot frequency as opposed to the pass frequency thing.
I hope so. That's one thing the Flames need to get back into is setting up the triangle, getting it back to the D, shooting in, and mixing it up in front of the net for the greasy goal.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's talk about your favorite guy.
My favorite guy?
Yeah. Who's your favorite guy? Who's your favorite defenseman on the team?
My favorite defenseman on the team is Oliver Shillington.
Okay, I'm going to go put my head in a fire and make sure I'm alive. Did you just say your favorite player on the team, your favorite defenseman on the team is Oliver Shillington?
Yeah, he's the greatest at defense that the Flames have ever seen.
Okay, I think I just had an aneurysm.
You and me both, my friend. You and me both. Fuck, that was painful to say. Ow.
So,
like, how does he have 9 goals and Rasmus has 4? Like, come on.
Because he plays behind the offensive net.
That's true. That's true.
A lot more than like Rasmus will go in there, and Hannafin even will go in there, go behind the net, and then go back to the point. Yeah, Shillington goes behind the net and then comes back out and like tries to get in front of the net like he's a winger.
Yeah, he goes behind the net and then he comes back out and sees that the rest of the both teams are in the neutral zone, going back into our zone. Yeah. I suppose you would have 9 goals when you don't give a shit about defense at all. That makes sense.
Yeah. So
my favorite defenseman is
rough.
My favorite defenseman is Oliver Shillington. Yes.
I think that's a little rough. The guy does care about defense, and he has gotten a little better, but still, I remember there was games 1 and 2. You and I went to games 1 and 2 against Dallas in the Saddle Dome, and we both sat there at the end of, was it game 2? It was game 2.
Game 2 was atrocious by him. That was unbelievable. Yeah.
And I think it was the overtime or the game winner. I can't remember if it was overtime, but it was the game winner, and it was a 1-0 game for Dallas.
Yeah. Well, he's laying on his back.
I think he was sitting on his ass at the offensive blue line when the puck went in the net. And it was just like, well, that's Oliver Shillington.
Yeah. Well,
so
last year was his first real season.
What's that?
Last year was his first real season, as I keep being told by multiple people. You got to give him a chance to play to prove you're wrong.
He's got so much potential. He does. He has a lot of potential.
As a winger, I don't know. He does have great potential as a defenseman. He has a
does.
really good stick. When he's defending, he is intelligent when he's back there, but
He just doesn't choose to be back there enough.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He chooses really weird times to go up in the rush or go, like you said, go behind the other team's net and piss around back there for a while and just leaving his post completely vacant, and that's not kosher. I'm a defenseman first guy.
Yeah.
Points come from the point. They don't come streaking up the ice, or
The
forechecking.
occasional one, sure.
Sure.
Like if you're a defenseman with 40 points,
Yeah.
7 of them should come because you pinched, because you
Yeah.
went and joined the rush.
Yeah.
If you're a 40-point defenseman and 35, I don't even know how many points Shillington had last year.
Yeah,
But
31.
so he had 31 points.
Yeah, 9 goals, 22 assists.
Okay. And if I had to guess, I'd say probably 25 of those points came because he was not in the position he should be in, which sounds ridiculous to say considering he got those points.
Yeah.
But as a defenseman, you should be playing defense and joining the rush sometimes, going up in the play sometimes. But you playing with Tanev really, really, really helped him. And then when Shillington got hurt, but then when Tanev got hurt, really exposed Shillington as a defensive liability.
Yeah.
Huge defensive liability.
100%. And with that injury he had last year, I mean, the fact that he only missed 9 games is mind blowing to me. Mind blowing. Yeah. But hey, he was 55th in Lady Bing votes. So there you go.
That's a thing. I didn't know that. Anyways,
I hope that's a misprint on Hockey Reference, but it just shows there that he's Lady Bing.
Lady Bing?
Yeah.
Because
55th in voting.
Because he had 14 penalty minutes.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Damn near a career high.
Anyways, so that's a thing. Again, kid's got all sorts of potential. I've been saying for years that he should be getting more time. And then he finally got more time, and I saw why he shouldn't be getting more time. Yep. Again, I think that given the right circumstances, he could become better. I just wish he'd learn from Tanev instead of relying on Tanev.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Yeah. I know earlier you were mentioning that Hannifin's trade value is higher than his on ice value, and I honestly feel after the season that Oliver just had, the same thing with him.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
And I if they were to find a package with him and say a Valimaki, who I'm sure we'll get into shortly, and maybe middle to bottom 6 forward to bring in a true number 1 right wing, I'm all about it.
Me too.
Because I do believe we do have defense covered fairly well. We can always slot in a Michael Stone. We can always bring in a Connor Mackey and things like that.
I mean, Stone isn't signed, but he's signed, as good as signed if we want him to be.
I feel like if the situation arose, I think that contract could be done in about 30 minutes.
I couldn't agree more. And like you said, we got Mackey, we've got Milosh, we've got DeSimone, I think. There's guys who we shouldn't have signed who we signed. Yeah. Because they need the defensive depth, which is fair, but I don't really count the guy who's 7th at best as depth.
No.
Far as when Tanev goes down, you're not like, oh, sweet, we have Nick Milosh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God. Yeah. No, absolutely. And the scary thing to me is once you clear out, the six major defensemen that Calgary has, when you're looking at, I guess, formerly Stockton, now the Wranglers, it's not great at all.
No, I mean, there's some good potential coming up.
Sure.
As far as Jeremy Poirier, who's apparently got a lot better defensively, but he's kind of Shillington-esque.
Yeah.
And Yan Kuznetsov, who's apparently quite Zadorov-esque,
Right.
but we don't know, right? How their games are going to transfer into the professional, into the AHL.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to have the ability to go to a few of their games this year. I think I might just go ahead and buy seasons because
I'm gonna watch on TV. Like I'm 6 hours away, 6 hour drive away from Calgary. And they don't drive. So
you're an 18-hour walk. Got it.
yes. So let's talk about Valimaki for a quick second because I feel like, can I just sum up Valimaki for both of us real quick?
I feel like you can. Yes.
Okay.
I think you can.
He is a trade asset who is losing trade value at record pace. And I cannot wait for him to not be on the team anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well done on the sum up. Yeah.
Is that rough? Is that
all right? So Connor Mackey, right? No, I mean you nailed it, right? You totally nailed it. Such high hopes for the kid when he came in.
Yep.
Right. And then we discovered that his legs are made of glass.
And his attitude's made of fucking shit.
Yes, exactly. He was able to get past the injuries and was fighting to get back in the lineup, and then got thrown into the Stockton system, and he turned into a whiny fucking bitch.
And not only that, but for most of the year in Stockton, he was between the first and second pair, and the only reason he was on the first pair ever is because of his draft position. In my opinion, it's because he was drafted 16th overall. I believe
that sounds right. Let's see 16th overall. Well done, sir.
Okay, so he was drafted 16th overall, and that's why that's why Mitch Love even threw him up there, I think, because Mackey was way better all year. And I can't even remember who Mackey was playing with, but I do remember I watched the last 3 games of Stockton's playoff run.
Yeah.
And Valimaki was so underwhelming. I was honestly, after a couple of years of kind of not being the biggest Valimaki fan anymore, I was going in with high hopes. Watching, I was like specifically trying to watch Valimaki to see if he still had that flair that I was excited about when we drafted him, and then that when he went back to Europe that one year and wore that stupid gold helmet for being the player of the week or whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
I was really excited to see some of that.
Yeah.
And I saw none of it. All I saw was flat play, slow skating, and honestly good reads, but his biggest issue I find is that he reads the play well, but then he second guesses himself, and then it's too late to make that play, and then he tries it anyway.
I think one of the things that as Flames fans we all kind of understand with our system, there's been a few times where we've rushed the development, and I truly think Yuso is fallen victim to that. because he played 3 seasons in Tri-City, the WHL, and just lit it up as a defenseman, and then immediately made the Flames.
He should have been in the AHL for a couple of years.
Yeah,
He played at least half a year, at least.
That's right. I mean, he played 24 games for the Flames and 20 games for Stockton. But that's the year that he had his big injury. And
that really hampered him because he did look really good that year. Even when he was up with the Flames a little bit too soon, I still thought he looked good that year.
Yeah. He looked okay. 24 games, 3 points, opposed to when he's in Tri-City the year before, 43 games and 45 points, and 60 games and 61 points. Like he was ripping it up. But obviously, the natural progression should have been play 2 seasons for Stockton, get acclimatized to actual pro hockey when you're playing with bigger men and learning the Flames system. I think would have done the world of difference for Yuso. But alas, here we are, kind of talking about his fall from grace. So
I mean, and to be fair on his account there, at that time the coach was, I want to say, Glenn Galitzin, and the coach in the minors was that still Jim Playfair back then?
God,
it wasn't a good coaching situation. Whereas I feel like now, if he was still 20, 21, how old is he? He's 23. So if he was still 20, if he was 19, 20, the coaching system that we have now, where they really try and preach Sutter's system in the minors, and they have a really good coach in Mitch Love that does it and sends guys up already knowing the system.
Right.
I feel like that would have really helped Yuso back then, but he kind of, again, fell victim to not only coming up too fast, but also to not having good development coaches, right? And
no, for sure, and then that makes a ton of sense. And no, Jim Playfair was not the coach down there 4 years ago.
Who was it? Did you figure it out? Or
I didn't even look to see who was the coach, but I don't think it was because so we got Love there now. Was it Ryan Huska before?
Yeah,
it would have been him.
Yeah. See, I don't mind Huska, but
not at all.
But Huska was also, I believe, the minor coach throughout the whole fucking Bill Peters thing and the whole Glenn Galitzin thing and the whole Jeff Ward, whatever the fuck that was thing.
Oh, the not coach. Got it.
Yeah.
The not coaching. It doesn't help.
Well, let's quickly, do you want to talk about Connor Mackey?
I mean, we can have a quick conversation about the kid. Okay. I've been really disappointed in his very limited amount of games he's been able to get in, which kind of surprises me, especially with the injuries and stuff. And obviously, Michael Stone fills that role fairly well as the true seventh defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last 2 seasons, he's played 9 games. He has, however, managed to pick up 4 points and is a +2 in the 9 games. He's I really like his game. He's a smaller guy as far as weight, so he's super thin at 6'2". So I mean, I think if he needs to fill out a bit.
It's got that Jay Bomeister.
Yeah, he does. Like, he's 26 years old, and at 6'2", he should be pushing like 209.
He's 26, eh?
Yeah.
He's older than Hannafin, Anderson, Shillington, Valimaki.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's only just got into professional hockey last year, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was never drafted. So I like the kid, and I really hope that we can figure out a way to get him going in the system.
Me too. He was one of the best defensemen in the AHL last year, and I'm not just saying in Stockton. He was one of the best defensemen in the AHL last year.
Yeah.
I feel like if that thing happens where, what you were talking about, where like a Shillington and a Valimaki get packaged up with someone, or it's, in order for us to bring in that winger we need, I do feel like Mackey is that natural fit to come up and actually get like, between 40, 50, 55 games. That would be great. I think he deserves it. I think he's, I remember he came up, I think it was last year, he came up and played a couple games, and he played one really, really good game, and then played one like average game, and then played a not so good game. But again, that was just 3 games. Like, he hasn't had the chance. He hasn't had a chance.
No, exactly. I don't think he has either. And even if you look at his last 2 years in Stockton, 27 games in 2021, 3 goals, 13 assists.
That's pretty fucking good.
That's pretty good. Not bad for a debut season.
Yeah.
With 16 penalty minutes. Nope. 33 penalty minutes. My apologies.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. And then last year, 53 games, 36 points, 5 of them being goals, 31 assists, 83 penalty minutes. So
I feel like a lot of what happened last year and why he didn't play so many games maybe in the AHL is because he sat in the fucking press box in the NHL quite a bit.
Oh, 53 is pretty decent for the AHL.
It's good, but it's not as many as maybe he should have.
Yeah.
Because he was sitting in the press box.
Yeah, he was sitting in the press box in Calgary, but I mean, what is the normal season for the AHL? How many games do they play? Is it like 64?
I think it's something like 70-ish. You might be right. I'm not positive. I'm not an AHL aficionado.
Right. I mean, you gotta think like Valimaki only played 35 last year.
Yeah, I mean, he was also in the press box a lot, though. I think he was in the press box even more.
Yeah, I think.
I think Valimaki also started the season with Calgary before Shillington. I think it was like 2 or 3 games, but Shillington ended up taking that spot pretty fucking quickly, and then Valimaki got sent down.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure, did he go through waivers?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and nobody took him. So what does that say?
Well, I mean, it just kind of reaffirms what you've been saying.
Yeah. Shall we do a quick little how do you do on Mr. Markstrom and Mr. Vladar?
Mr. Vladar, Mr. Markstrom. Well, yeah, why not? Might as well. I mean, that's really your best defense.
It really is. So Vladar, as a backup, played 23 games and won 13 of them. Lost 6 of them. Lost 2 of them in OT. Obviously, his games played is more than the grand total of all of that, because he also ended up, coming in as a backup, coming in relief of Markstrom a couple times.
Yeah,
but he started 19 games and won 13 of them as a backup, and as a guy who, honestly, the year before, I believe in Boston, I think he only played like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
So winning 13 of 19 games in the NHL in your first season as a backup is pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah.
And his attitude is fucking great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what you need out of your, the guy who's warming the bench most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. The year before with Boston, he was 5 games, 2 wins, 2 losses, and then
And honestly, he really impressed me when he played for Boston. I think I watched 2 of those games, and he really impressed me when he played for Boston. So I was pumped when we got him. 2.75 goals against, 906 save percentage. I mean, those are above average backup numbers.
Yeah.
They're not great. They're not bad. They're just above average. And for, a guy in his first season, that's fucking wonderful.
Right.
He will step up more next season. He'll probably play another 6 games, I think, probably, than he did last year.
Yeah, I would think. I would hope.
Yeah. Was a really good tandem with Markstrom, seemed to get along with everybody on the team, which is big. And yeah, big kid too.
He is a big kid. I would hope. I mean, in my ideal world, he plays 15 more games next year, but we all know what Sutter does with backups, with their number 1 goalie, right?
And Markstrom too is that guy who wants to play more.
Yeah.
He even said in an interview the other day with Elliot Friedman, he's like, I played a lot of hockey last year, but I want to play more next year.
Right. But I mean, and he's 32 years old, so he needs to just slow his roll a little bit.
Absolutely. Because we need him for the playoffs, and we need him not to let in that fucking glove low goal he let in like 13 of against the Oilers.
A foot above, a foot below. How many times?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I
mean, that might be what happens when you play 63 games in a season, right?
Exactly. Let's talk about him. 63 games in the season. 922 save percentage, elite.
Yep. He
2.22 goals against, elite. 9 shutouts, elite.
Yep.
Fucking 37 wins, elite. Yep. We have ourselves an elite goalie making $6 million. You happy? I'm happy.
I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But you also know my criticisms when we first picked him up, and I was like,
I do.
And
I know you're going to tell everyone about it. So
no, I'm going to leave it alone because
you're wrong.
I'm not going to say I was wrong. He had a very good season. He had career numbers in every aspect last year in one season at 32 years of age.
And last year not last year, the year before last, when he got hurt, or before he got hurt, he was really fucking good too.
So, right, when we talk about
and that's the problem with Markstrom is his health.
When we talk about Mangiapane and how good last year was from start of the season to the 30th of November, it was elite. And then after that, it was a fall from grace, which is exactly what happened to Markstrom last year. Or not, I guess 2 seasons ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
At 904 save percentage, and 266 is still a pretty decent goals against. So I'm not gonna
shit on him for that.
Shit him on, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was when that started happening. That's when I started saying, this is what I was talking about. Right here we go.
And again, I think Markstrom had that thing 2 years ago that Monahan's had for the last couple of years, where he's like, "Oh no, I'm good to go. I'm going to play more. I need to play. I'm healthy."
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have, because
the team needs
that cost the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And don't get me wrong, that's a great attitude to have, but it's also like you need to know when you're not healthy. You need to know when you have, a backup who's, he didn't the year before, but when you have a backup who's, got 13 wins in 19 games, maybe you can be like, hey, I'm going to take the night off.
Who was the backup in 2 years ago?
How do I not know that?
Right. As soon as you said the backup, and I'm like, yeah, who the fuck was that?
That's a good question. Fuck, I'm blanking. Do you have it up?
I don't.
Fuck.
I don't.
Um.
Wow. Okay. Now it's gonna bug me. I gotta find out.
Yeah. Don't worry, I got it up.
Did you?
It was Riddick and Deming.
That would have been last year.
Yeah. No, Riddick got traded halfway through that year. He played 12 games. And Deming played 1, and Zagadulin played 1. That was the 53 game season or whatever, I think, too.
Yeah.
So Markstrom only played 43 games that year.
Yeah.
And Riddick played 12, Deming played 1, and Zagadulin came in relief of somebody once. But yeah, like that's why, because Deming was the backup for most of that season, and Markstrom played all of the games because Deming was too busy
not being able
with
to
his online YouTube chef thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
He seems like a good kid, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
and like he's got the good attitude that we praise Vladar for. He just doesn't have the, being backup goalie thing that Vladar does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Then
He's
again,
just, he's just
the
not
team kind of
great at
sucked
it.
that year too. Like,
What do you mean?
Dominic Simone that year, like fuck.
Hey, he was great.
Zach Ronaldo, Buddy Robinson played 9 games. Nestorov played fucking 38 games.
You know what? Let's end this conversation.
Byron Fraze. You want me to keep going?
Fucking
Derek
stop
Ryan.
it. God's sake.
Sam Bennett. Fuck. Josh Levo. AHL player of the year, Josh Levo.
I wanted to bring Josh back.
For the AHL?
No. At league min, he is serviceable.
Yep. And you know what? Brett Ritchie too.
I can't.
At Leagueman, those guys are. The problem is, I feel like the reason why guys like that get shit on by the fan base so much is because we were looking for that right winger for so long, and now we're back looking for that right winger. Yeah. But we were looking for that right winger for so long, and then due to no fault of their own, Levo and Ritchie were both tried with Monahan and Gaudreau.
Yeah, Levo was.
They should have never been, because neither of them are top 6 forwards.
Right.
So
they're not even
people
middle
shit on them
forwards.
because they were put in a position to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Well, now that we're all depressed talking about Ritchie
2 years ago,
Levo 2 years ago, fucking hell, yeah. Dude, killing me. Circle back. What is your thought? Because I gave my thought when we opened the show on our defense and how excited I was. What is your feeling? Where do you feel they're going to be sitting as far as defense? Who do you think is going to be our pairings, and what is your true assessment of what we have on the blue line?
I truly think that there's a move coming. I find it really hard to, and I'm not trying to cop out. I'm still going to make pairings with what we have, but I find it really hard to make pairings because I feel like, whether it be a Hannafin or whether it be, maybe they can't sign Uyghur and they choose to move him. Maybe they surprise all of us and trade Anderson, or maybe they trade Shillington or whatever. I feel like there is a move because we need a winger and we have so much defense.
Yeah.
But if it were me, I would probably go with Tanev and Hannafin.
Okay.
And like again, that'll be the ones, the defensive first pair.
Yeah.
And then the offensive first pair you probably throw out Anderson and Uyghur.
Yeah.
And then when you absolutely fucking have to, you throw out Zadorov and Shillington. And you know what? That won't be a bad pair. I don't think that'll be a horrible pair because I think Zadorov got a lot better defensively. But I still think that Shillington needs that handhold. And I just don't think Tanev will be available because you can't give Tanev as few minutes as you're going to give Shillington next year.
Right. No, I agree. I think it's interesting that you threw Mackenzie Uyghur in for the offensive role, even though Noah had more points than he did last year.
Yeah, I want Noah, if he's going to be on the team, I want him playing with Tanev.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, he had a hell of a year with him the year before, right?
They didn't get scored on 5-on-5 for how long?
Yeah, I think.
But was it like fucking half the year?
Well, it was 3/4 of the way through January.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah,
that's unreal.
Yeah,
yeah, that was an unreal stat. Yeah,
I would not mind having them playing together again. And yeah, I mean, I feel like Uyghur playing with Anderson might boost his offensive stats. And also Uyghur, like, who was he playing with last year? Forsling for most of the year. Like, he played with Ekblad for a bit, but Ekblad had a broken leg for half the year, right? So
yeah.
Was it Forsling? Was it like who else did they have? Radko Gudas? Like,
right.
Like, I would not be surprised if Florida falls out of the playoffs. Honestly,
you're doing something wrong on
defense
when Gudas is in your top 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, he's there to punch faces and
right.
and fucking looks scary. He kind of looks like you, except with less teeth.
Huh. Well, fuck you too, Dylan.
Hey, man, at least you got some teeth.
Yeah. Well, at least I've got some teeth. You heard it here first, folks. On that note, I just want to make sure everybody remembers to hit that subscribe, give us a share, like, follow, all the fun stuff. You know what
give us your defense
are like.
Pairings too.
Yeah.
And some trade offers you think might happen, some projected trades as well, as far as defensemen for wingers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ArmChair GM Podcast,
Hockey Podcast
Network. Just talk defense for the Calgary Flames. That's it for us today, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.